That's it. Simplest compound in the universe. Also the most common compound in the universe. But you don't find it floating around by itself. It always loves blending with stuff. It always blends with something else. Hydrogen is always with something else. When we combine it with oxygen, we have H2O, we have water. We have all kinds of things it combines with. It's very happy and friendly and it loves to join. Out in the atmosphere, it's a very, very safe gas because it combines with other gases in the air almost immediately. So when you get a hydrogen leak and you're worried about flammability, what you end up with most of the time is water vapor because it blows out into the atmosphere and it mixes with the oxygen and it turns into water. And then we have no harm, no foul. It's very environmentally friendly. It's a very, very environmentally friendly gas. And once it blends with things, it's pretty well harmless. So hydrogen is an interesting choice. The problem is, right now, with the technologies we presently have, making hydrogen to put in our fuel cell to make electricity to run an electric car, or to put it in an internal combustion engine, right now it takes about 4 kilowatts of energy to produce enough hydrogen to produce 1 kilowatt of energy. So if you're making a hydrogen car or a hydrogen fuel cell car, right now, with what America is using to manufacture hydrogen, it's actually an environmental negative. You're better off if you just put gas in the car. That seems ridiculous. Even the hydrogen fuel cell car, its only emission is water. No pollution from it at all. But making the hydrogen creates more pollution and uses more fuel than if you just put gas in the car. So what good is that? Now, as we develop different ways to make hydrogen, and we are, that may change drastically, but it's not there yet. There's one thing called the hydrogen superhighway. And I'm actually going to pause for a second, and I'm going to let George tell you about the hydrogen superhighway for a moment here. And since that's not entirely what we're doing today, we won't spend a lot of time with it, but...
you guys can Google this and look it up. It's a fascinating project. A good friend of ours, who Ralph and I, a friend, lives in Detroit. He's the chairman emeritus of a company called the Interstate Travel Corporation. And their project is coined the hydrogen superhighway. When completed, it will be a maglev rail system that will parallel 54,000 miles of the interstate system in the United States. It will have hydrogen-powered vehicles running magnetic lift on these rails. There'll be passenger vehicles, there'll be freight vehicles. They will travel at 250 miles an hour. What they're doing is, as they're paralleling the interstate system, they are using selected cloverleafs for stations. There'll be sidings where the vehicle will come off the main line onto a siding, decelerate, pull into the station, and you let off passengers, take on passengers, same with freight. At each one of these stations, there will be electrolyzers, solar-powered electrolyzers that will create the energy to power these vehicles, the hydrogen. The hydrogen will then be put into the vehicle will take off, go back out onto the rail. This project is underway. It's under construction right now. The first leg of it is being built from Detroit to Chicago. When this gets finished, you'll be able to get on this thing in Detroit, and 45 minutes later, you'll be getting off in Chicago. The magnitude of this project is so immense that it will virtually, if it was funded, first thing off, it's not funded. If it were properly funded, the unemployment problem in the country would go away, our energy problems would go away, many of our problems. There are political reasons why this isn't happening. So
the funding it does have is coming from overseas. Our government is supporting it all.
Our friend Tim and the founder of the corporation went to Washington. They made presentations to the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, the Department of the Interior, every department that they could appear before. Everybody loved it. They explained it. It's all engineered. It's all designed. It's ready to go. They all loved it. There's not a nickel of funding coming from our government. So our government really has absolutely no interest in solving the energy problems of this country It has no interest in solving the unemployment problems. I don't know where their head is at. Well, actually, I can tell you where their head is at, but we'll go into that at a different time. So anyway, if you want to read a real fascinating website, look up the hydrogen superhighway. And I think you'll be very interested in that. Hopefully they can get more funding to get this thing really going.
And he said that on tape.
Yeah. He told me he knows why the politicians' eyes are brown, because where their heads are at, but that's a different story.
They're political.
Okay. The part of it that is pertinent to what we're doing today is looking at the hydrogen gas for how we can use it in a practical way that any of you can do and actually help yourself out. Now, it may seem a little far-fetched at first. I wondered about it. And I started experimenting with it based on things I started learning from George and then from Ralph, and then started investigating. And you know, when you look at a guy who's got 24 ASC stripes, you know I get curious about things. So I started checking it out. My students built a device that is a hydroxy gas, or HHO, gas generator. And we put it in a 1994 Ford Tempo. Yeah, I don't always drive the classiest things either. People say, why do you drive that thing? My answer is because I can. I got $950 in the car. I've driven it 37,000 miles. I'm not going to quit driving it now. You want to call me cheap? I'll agree. Okay, I'm good with that. I like to drive cheap. Huh? Frugal. No, I'm clear up to cheap when it comes to driving for my work car. I'm past it. I'm not frugal on everything. Well, I try to be, but not always. But nonetheless, the vehicle that we put this in, this 94 Tempo, running the exact same route, filling it up at the same pumps, with the same weather conditions, the car went from 25.4 to 30.6 mile a gallon. We're talking a 20% improvement with what we're going to talk about and show you today. Okay. That's noteworthy. That's noteworthy. Are we running the car on hydrogen? Sort of. I'll explain that more as we go. Anyhow, there's us. Okay. What is this hydroxy gas? It's also known as Brown's gas, because Brown is a fellow that did a lot of work with this. This is not new. This has been around since the 1800s. But some people have used it, some like to ignore it. Okay? Combination of hydrogen and oxygen. We break H2O apart. That's what water is. Pure water is nothing but hydrogen and oxygen. And if it can form into water, guess what? We can take water and break it apart. Oh, wait a minute, you're running your car on water. I've heard about that. Garbage. Well, you know what? I can't run my car on water. But I can run it on hydroxy gas. And if I happen to make hydroxy gas out of water, then that's okay. Am I putting water in the motor? No. Will my spark plugs fire water? No. But it sure will fire hydrogen and oxygen. Anybody ever hear of the Hindenburg?